Okay, welcome to this tutorial. We're going to learn to put some snow in the sky basically. So this photo has been took, it was snowing slightly but not enough to show actually in the photograph with the shutter speed that was used. It's a nice, easy, quick method to use this. It doesn't require anything really fancy. You can apply it in Photoshop Elements, any version of Photoshop, and probably other software as well. So let's go about making a start. And the first thing we need to do is to create a new layer. So it doesn't matter what your levels of Photoshop is, if you just follow these basic instructions, you'll get the same result. So we go to Layer on the menu, New, and then Layer. There's other ways of actually doing this, but we'll all use this method. We know where we are. Now for the name of the layer, I'm actually going to give it a name this time. So we're going to call it Snow Small. And you'll see why we're calling it that a bit later. Click on OK. And if we look at the layers on the right hand side, so we click on the layers palette, we can now see we've got a blank empty layer, and below that we've got the background layer. So it's really important that we're on this top layer. You can click on that just to make sure. And then we're going to look at the left hand side of the screen where we've got the different tools. And what we're looking for is a rectangular marquee tool. Now you've got various marquee tools, so if I click down and hold down the mouse, you'll see the rectangular marquee tool there. So we click on that to select it. And basically what we want to do is to draw a rectangle on the screen. I'll just hide the layers for a moment. I'm going to draw a rectangle on the screen, a rectangular shape, basically more or less the same size, not the same size, but the same dimensions as the actual photo itself. In other words, just a rectangle of a similar shape. It doesn't matter where you put it. And we're going to do this one around that size. Now, the size does make a big difference. The reason for that, what we're going to do is we're going to put little dots of snow in this area. And then we're going to resize it to the same size of the picture. Now, we want small snow in this case. So actually, the bigger the rectangle, the smaller the snow will actually be, which you'll see later on. The smaller the rectangle, the bigger the snowflakes. So around this size, in proportion to the picture, is what we want for the first one. And it's experimenting. Yeah, if you don't get exactly what you want first attempt, you can delete the layer and keep trying. The size of the picture makes a difference as well, because the pixels are all different shapes. So it is trial and error. Okay, so we've got the rectangle there. And what we want to do with that is to actually fill it in black. So first of all, looking at the colour picker down here, you've got two colours for the foreground and the background. Let's cancel that. It's the foreground colour we need to be black. You've also got the default foreground and background colour, which is black and white. So if you click that little button there, you will see that it's changed it to black and white if you hadn't already got black and white. And you can alter the two colours by clicking this little button to the right there, and you can see that rotates the two colours. So we need black to be the foreground colour. So we've got black there, and to fill that shape in, we use the bucket tool, the paint bucket tool. So I click there to select that, and I simply click, and there's the black selection. Okay, now what we want to do with this is to add some noise. And we use a filter to do that. So we click on Filter, and we go to Noise, and Add Noise. And we get this little screen come up. Now, first of all, you may have this ticked or not. It needs to be monochromic, or monochromatic. Excuse my accent. There we go. And there's two different types of distribution, uniform or Gaussian. We're using Gaussian because with Gaussian it gives a nice softer effect. And the amount, again, this is trial now, we don't want it to be too high, quite low in this case. So I'm going to go with, in this case, about 42%, maybe a bit less, 35. And again, it's trial and error. And we click on OK. So we've now got this black and white rectangle. I can now remove the selection around there. So I'll go to Select, Deselect. And then we want the Move tool, which is at the top of the tools on the left hand side. So the Move tool, we click on that. And I drag it into the corner. And then on the handles at the bottom right, I drag over the picture. Okay, so when you do that, you now then need to commit the change you've made to it, and you do that by clicking the little commit transform tick that's on the top of the screen there, or you can use the enter key, which is what I usually do. The enter key on the keyboard will do the same. So that's our snow. It doesn't look much like, it looks like you've lost the picture at the moment, but this is where we get it back. We go back to the layers, so I'll click on the layers palette there, and we can see the snow small there, which is the layer we've just applied that to. And what we do now is change what's called the blending mode. Now at the moment the blending mode is displayed in the box here where it says normal. We click on that, and from the list we select screen. And when I click on that, you will now see that I've got my snow. So very simple to do. It's not finished yet, so we're going to make a few more changes. But basically, if we look at the opacity, we can take that down just a little bit to get that effect. That looks quite nice. I mean, you could use that on its own. What we're actually going to do is, obviously snow is all different sizes. The closer it is to you, the larger it looks. So that's the next stage we're going to do. And also you get snow. Actually, the next stage we'll do is we're actually going to make the snow look like it's moving. So we're going to create another layer in exactly the same way as what we've just done. And we're actually going to make it look a bit more like rain, so like of a sleet of effect. So that'll be the next one we do. So we need a new layer again. So we'll go to Layer, New Layer. And we will name the layer, so we'll call this we'll call this one Sleet. There we go. Too many E's. E, there we go. Sleet, click on OK. We've got a blank layer, which we can see there. So again, we use the rectangle tool. And again, quite a large rectangle, similar to before. We go back to the filters. And I will just click Add Noise because I want a similar effect to what I've just had. So I'll click on Add Noise there, and that will repeat the settings that we used before. Ah, it's empty. I haven't coloured it in. Idiot. Good tutor this. Okay, so I need to colour that in black first of all, sorry. So I need to click on the Paint Bucket tool, click within the rectangle, and then we go to Add Noise. There we go. And we've now got our snow effect. Again, we deselect that. So we go to Select, Deselect. We click on the Move tool. So basically we're doing everything that we've done before, exactly the same process. We drag it across the screen. We press the Enter key or click the Commit tick, either way. And we change the layer mode to screen. So basically we've got two lots of stuff. If I just click the little eye there, that will hide that, and you'll see that we've now got two separate layers. So working on this top one, what we're now going to do is to add some movement to that, and again we use a filter for that. So we go to Filter, we go to Blur, and we go to Motion Blur. you've got a distance there, and you can change the distance to get whatever effect you want. I don't want it to be too big in this case, just want a slight blur on there. So in this case I'm using 72. You can play with that and see what effects you want. I'll click on OK. And there you can see if I just hide that, we've got this blur effect. If I hide the other layer by clicking the eye, that gives a nice rain effect as well. If you just want like rain, you can just use that effect on its own. So you can see now we've got the two layers. Click back on the top layer for the sleet, and again you can change the opacity if you wish. Doesn't look too bad actually on that if I apply it at 100%. There we go. Now finally we're going to create a new layer. It actually looks okay like that, but I'm just showing you the different techniques. So we need a new layer. So we go to layer, new layer. Again, we'll call this layer large snow. There's such a thing. Click on OK. Same process again. Basically what we're going to do this time though is we're going to draw a smaller rectangle. So just that big. And then we resize it, the pixels will be larger. So basically with that say we get larger snow particles just by doing that. So again we colour it in. Click on the paint bucket, click inside. I'll go to filter, I go to noise, add noise, and basically I can just click on OK, choosing the same settings. I deselect, and then I use the move tool, drag it to the corner, resize it across the screen, press the enter key. You can see we've got quite large particles now. I'll go to layers, and we're on the large snow layer, and I'll change that to screen. And there you can see we've got large snowflakes, so we can just alter the opacity of that. Now what I'm going to do in this case is I only want that really in the sky. I want to remove some of that, so I'll take the opacity down to what I want. I'll click on the eraser tool, which is located there. I can change the size of the brush. It's actually okay, but if you need to do that, you can click on there and you can change the size to whatever. I'm just going to delete part of that on the areas where I don't want it. Bit of overkill on there, we're getting a bit of a blizzard now. I might take the opacity down just a little bit more. Just want that to be a soft effect. And there we go. So when we're complete, we just go to layer, flatten image, and there's your snow.